Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Monday, December the 29th. And welcome to our commentary. Welcome to the last Monday of 2025. This year is counting down fast. Man, we're in the last week. We're down to the last, 3 days of the year, and then it's 2026 all over again. I guess the older you get, the more routine that these end of the year experiences, New Year experiences. It's still a lot of fun to go through it because it's like, wow, a year is over, a new one's begun, and you get all excited about your resolutions and all that kind of stuff. But nevertheless, it is the last Monday of 2025, and here we are with a little commentary for you. I hope everybody had a good Christmas, by the way. Um, Now that is one that one never gets old. Celebrating Christmas never gets old with me because I absolutely love the holiday. Well, I have a post over at the American Thinker today talking about the Democrats. And my point is very simple that when you're the party out of power, like the Democrats are this year, you normally have an advantage when you go into the midterms. And it's just the way it is. That's just the reality. If you look at the history of these midterms, let's say going back almost 100 years, they have always favored the party out of power. So usually there's a shift in one of the houses. It goes one way or sometimes both, but usually one. Usually one changes, as happened in 2022 when the Republicans won back the House, or as happened in 18 when the Democrats won back the House. So, these things happen. These things happen. And the party out of power has the advantage that they run against the guy in the White House. And that has historically been an advantage. I guess the only exception I can think of recently is 2002, when then President Bush, George W. Bush, was able to hold down the tradition, and he didn't lose anything. In fact, he gained, I think he gained a seat or two in the White House. But the point of my article, again, is that the Democrats have the advantage of being in the right place at the right time, being out of power, running against an incumbent, but they still have a major problem. And the major problem is the Democrats, that the Democratic Party is simply does not have the kinds of faces right now that the American people are finding very attractive. If you look at all the polling data, yes, Trump is down. He's competitive in some cases, but yes, he is down. But if you look at the Democrats, they're down too. They're down significantly. And if you look at the famous generic, when they say, who would you vote for Congress, it's within 3 or 4 points. That is certainly not signs of any kind of a blue wave or anything like that. So the Democrats' big problem, as I say in my post, is the Democrats and simply the faces of the party. The party has gone way too far to the left, and they need somebody who can bring it back. They need somebody who can bring it back to the center so that they can compete a lot better with the Republicans and much of that center of the country that they keep losing. They're also having a problem with men. That's another problem that they're having. And now, as I read the other day, they're having a problem with young men. So they got some problems, to say the least. Well, President Trump met with President Zelensky on Sunday, and they both said that progress was being made. I hope so. I think we all want to see an end to this crazy war. I would like to see Ukraine succeed. I would like to see Ukraine survive as a nation. I think Putin, I wouldn't fault the Russians here because Putin is the one behind all of this. But Putin is obviously a man who doesn't care about human life, and he's committing some absolutely horrific war crimes, dropping these bombs in residential areas. Well, that isn't good, but he's doing it. But the problem that Ukraine has is that they're probably running out of gas. They can only lose so many soldiers. Ukraine has a population of about 40 million people. Russia has a population of 200 million people. And judging by the way Putin is conducting this war, he doesn't care how many of his people die. He could care less. He could lose 100,000 more, and he could care less. And he's already lost quite a few by all independent accounts. So Ukraine has to figure out how to make a deal and end this thing. Now, Russia, too, needs to make a deal because this is costing them economically as well. And again, I'd like to see a solution to this. Nobody's winning. This war is terrible. And it's going to be getting worse the longer that time goes on. So hopefully they can find a way of maybe giving up some land or however they can do it. I like to see an end to this because it's not helping anybody to have this war going on and on and on and on. And as we as we hear from President Trump and even other independent sources, they're losing a lot of young men in this war. They're losing a lot of soldiers in this war. And that's a terrible thing. That's an absolutely horrible thing. So hopefully they can find a resolution. They can finish this thing. And Ukraine can go back to being an independent country. And both sides can focus on things that are more important. But man, well, what a terrible war this has become. I mean, I never thought it would last this long, honestly. And I guess the policy of simply giving them more money didn't necessarily work. And we have to figure out some way of ending this war, as President Trump said. You know, I have a post coming out tomorrow, Tuesday, talking about what is happening in Chicago. Once again, they have another weekend and more killings and 6 people shot, 20 people shot, 6 people killed. Now it may be more than 6 by the time they get around to seeing who else was killed. But what a horrible thing! Every weekend in Chicago, this happens. And what we hear from the local politicians is everything is great and everything is Trump's fault. Well, everything is not great. When you've got 6 people being shot just about every weekend, 20, 25, 30 people being shot, that would be a horrible scandal in any other American city. I can tell you here in Texas where I am, if something like that were to happen one weekend, it would be such a scandal. The governor would be involved. The governor would step in and demand an explanation from the local mayor. And if necessary, would bring the National Guard in to make sure it doesn't happen next weekend. But you don't see that in Chicago. You don't see the governor saying, I'm done with this. I'm not putting up with this anymore. I'm going to put the National Guard on the streets this weekend so that there isn't any more killing. You never see that. And the mayor of Chicago, who is frankly perhaps the worst mayor in the country, I mean, just an absolutely disgraceful man, he doesn't care. All he wants to do is blame Trump for everything. And the governor, who should be responsible that his major city of Chicago is a killing machine like this city is, well, he doesn't care either because, he's, again, the same thing. He just wants to talk about Trump, and that's all he seems to care about. In the meantime, more people are shot. And we know where the killings take place. It's in a section of the city. It wouldn't be that difficult for the Illinois National Guard to come in and position itself in different parts of the city where we know the shooting happens every weekend and at least save a few lives. That would be nice, wouldn't it? But no, the governor doesn't want to do it because, as I said before, the governor just wants to sit around and blame everything on President Trump. That's all he talks about, is how horrible Trump is. Well, he should be talking about how horrible his city is, how horrible every weekend you've got casualties like this and shootings like this. What a terrible mess. What a disgrace, the leadership in Chicago and the state of Illinois. Well, it was on this day in 1845 that the state of Texas joined the Union. The state of Texas became state number 28 and joined the Union. So the so-called Republic of Texas became the state of Texas. And that's been it for the last 180 years that Texas has been in the Union. Texas is a very vibrant and dynamic place with a great sense of independence and sovereignty, and at the same time, a great economy. Some great people have come out of this state. We've had Presidents Lyndon Johnson, the first Bush, the second George W. Bush, And who knows, there may be more down the road. But what a great state, a great place to be, a great state to live. I'm lucky to be in Texas, and I'm telling you, 180 years ago today, the Republic of Texas became the state of Texas. And I think everybody's pretty happy about that, including the people in the other 49 states who get to have us as part of the union. And we're lucky that we get to be part of the union. It's a great union to be a part of. So happy number 180 to the state of Texas. It joined the union 180 years ago today, 1845. I don't know, maybe I'm getting old, but 1845 wasn't that long ago, a few years ago, you know? It was only what, 150 a few years ago, 140 a few years ago, and now it's 180. Wow. Wow. That, I guess we're all getting a little bit older. But happy anniversary to the state of Texas. Happy anniversary in joining the Union in 1845. Long live Texas, you know, as they say down here. God bless Texas. That's the other expression that we hear down here in Texas. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas.